All right. Hello, everyone. Let me get situated here. I got a bunch of boxes on my desk. I forgot. I got a bunch of new audio equipment I haven't set up yet, so there's like a huge stack of equipment just sitting over here. So I just had to move it out of the way there for a second. Okay, let's jump in here. A couple live streams ago, I created this curl to Laravel's HTTP kind of converter, if you will. And I since launched that, I believe, github.com, laravel-shift, I think. Did I put it under console? No. I forgot where I put this thing. Under shift, it's like curl converter. Yeah, there it is. So I released this, turned it into a package and released it. And this was based on feedback from people in the live stream. So it makes a little more sense kind of as a package. So basically you can add this to your project or globally or whatever. Well, I guess you can't add it globally because it's a Laravel package. So again, something that could change over time. But you could add it to your project, and then effectively you could say PHP artisan shift : and then paste in a curl command, and it would convert it for you to, it would spit out the HTTP facade or client code for you right there in the console. That's fine and good, but again, since it's a Laravel package, it's maybe not available to everybody, and you also have to go through the steps to download it, install it, set it up, run the command. You got to prefix it with, artisan, shift : all that kind of stuff. That wasn't the original kind of UX that I imagined. I imagined more of something like this, where, you pasted in some curl command, and it outputted the HTTP equivalent. You'd be like convert, and boom, right there below it, it would just show the code ready to be copy and pasted. So that's what I want to build today is basically a page like this on the Shift website that's just like, convert curl to HTTP or whatever, right? So let's do that, right? That's what we're gonna do. So let's get in here and take this Laravel shift converter because I'm gonna need it. And let's go over and just start getting into like the code here. So first things first, let's go back to laravelshift.com and what do we need to do here? We need to go to, well, first of all, let's pull down the latest code because I'm sure there's a bunch of changes. There we go. Let's get checkout -b curl converter. All right, and then we're gonna want to bring up PHP Storm. Did I install that? No, I didn't. I installed it on my Mac. I think it's pstorm is the command line option instead of PHP Storm. I don't know why, but I think that's what it is. Anyway, let's let PHP Storm fire up. We got all this framework stuff we're working on. Oh yeah, if we get some time, I'm going to go back and refactor some of this Laravel shift code because a lot of the stuff I was working on, again, in the previous streams is now merged. So I could use that instead of the janky code I wrote. So let's get into here. It probably will be, I guess it will be. So let's bring in Laravel shift converter. I don't even know if I tagged this or not. 0.1? I don't even know. Did we tag something? I did tag a release. 0.1. There you go. Okay, cool. So as long as we're 0.1. Yeah, pstorm. Thanks, Samuel. Hey, Rick. Hey, Adrian. How's it going? All right, so we'll install that here in a minute. Let's find this can I upgrade Laravel stuff. Oh, that's the card, of course. I think that's just it's just a controller. So let's just copy this controller and call it like curl converter controller, curl converter controller. Actually, I think I'm just going to make this a single action controller. So let's just call it curl converter curl converter, and let's kind of see what we need here. We don't need to worry about these Laravel versions. Let's just kind of hack this apart. This will be curl converter, and it's really just kind of the index page. I won't have multiple, so you know what? Let's just make it top level. Let's change this to invoke. Let's change this to request. There are no packages, so there's no data. We can get rid of all that. Or well, you know what? There actually might be data. I wonder if I stuff that in old. There probably would be data. Let's put this here. This would be the command, let's call it. So we'll say request input command. Sorry, command, duh. All right. I don't think we need search anymore or any of this stuff. Yeah, we really don't need any of this stuff. So let's just get rid of all that. So it's just an invocable controller now. We don't have any of this other registry stuff, so we can just trim all that down. Let's bring in this request object. There we go. Okay, so if command is there, great. Otherwise, just null is fine. Let's go make this view now. So let's go into our resources, views, and can I upgrade? I'm just going to copy this index, and we'll change this to curl converter. And I'll work on the SEO stuff of this later. I think for now, why is no index true on there? That's strange. Anyway, I would want this to be indexed. So we got all this header stuff. Again, a lot of this text we could probably just trim down. Where is this? For each package's end section. Where? Tracked Laravel packages. I thought there was a form on this page. Is it search? Oh, okay. It searches first, and it doesn't index the results. That makes sense. Okay, sorry. Let's try this again. So let's copy the search page. We're going to leave the description, get rid of the index. Let's kind of drop this down. No results. We'll kind of leave that stuff alone. Kind of get rid of this curl command, and the placeholder might be something like, you know, curl https laravel, you know, .com or something like that. Let's just put post -d, you know, foo. Whoops. Why is that single quoted? That's ugly. We'll say foo equals bar. Why am I hitting colon? Come on. All right, so we got this old query. Let's change this to command is what we called it. Command. We won't do an error message there, I don't think. We'll leave submit. Call this convert. Okay, and then we will need command here. So if there's an old one, it's going to use it. Otherwise, it's going to use what we backfill from the command. Old actually might cut it all the way through, but I think when you actually submit, old won't track it. We'll test that here in a minute. And then we'll probably need another section. So we got this header, we got this form, and then we'd have like, we would say like if, let's say if code or snippet, maybe, let's call it, we would output snippet. it would probably be pretty cool if this was like, if we ran this through highlight, but again, we'll have to kind of see what those touches look like. For now, let's dump this out, and we would not, I don't think we would want to escape anything here. So let's just say snippet. Okay. Our front end's a little bit ugly, but convert, you know, curl, code curl to Laravel's HTTP to a Laravel HTTP request. There you go, cool. All right, let's code this up as well. All right, so again, we'll see kind of what all that ends up looking like, but so the other thing we would want to do now is really we would want to do some processing. And since this is kind of what I would call, like in an old school world, like a sticky form, it's going to submit back to itself. That's not really like very common, especially in kind of like a cruddy controller. But since we're just going to use like an invocable controller, and it's just this one like little page, I think it makes the most sense to just kind of like handle that here. So let's kind of start mocking out this logic, and then we'll just kind of go manually test it. Again, in the interest of the stream going quick, let's just kind of like spike on this for a second, see that it's working, and then I can, you know, backfill changes and clean up, you know, SEO images and all that kind of stuff. So we could say if request has or filled command, so if you actually submitted the command, then I think at this point we would basically call artisan. So we would do artisan call, and we would effectively just say shift : dot, and then with their command. Now, again, there's some nuances here, and this is the part that we'll kind of drive out maybe with some tests, but we would say something like input command. We would just raw past that straight in, the whole command we would want to run, and then the snippet would end up being artisan output. We would trim artisan's output, right? And down here, we would want to pass snippet is equal to snippet or null. Wow, I'm way off today. There we go. Okay, so it's more or less as easy as that, but artisan to-do could throw error when invalid options, you know, invalid or unknown, really. So we would need to probably wrap this in like a try catch, where, you know, if one of those was invalid, we would want to kind of fake a validation error. But again, since it's just one field, one command, if it's filled in, we're just going to assume that it works. Again, I think the sticky form kind of makes sense in this case. So let's bring up Docker. We need to install that. We need to be able to run this. While this is going, let's go back to our web routes, and can I upgrade Laravel? Let's just kind of borrow some of these real quick. And we'll just, for now, again, we'll call this the curl converter. Whoa. Thanks, Docker Desktop. Take over, will ya? Yeah, anytime I change my screen resolution, like Docker wants to just jump. Okay, so we'll submit this back, and then we got this curl converter, and we don't need this because it's invocable, so let's just get rid of all that. And the name will be curl converter. Or well, you know what? I'm not even going to name that one because we're never really going to link to it. Let's just, curl converter. There we go. We will need to link to the post bit though. So let's go fix that in our blade. The post action will be route curl converter. There we go. All right, cool. I'm hearing some stuff in the chat. Let's see what people say. Okay, it's Asia. Could you pass the input directly to artisan call to command execution vulnerability? Could passing the input, yeah. I mean, I would assume that Laravel maybe does some stuff there internally, but again, I'm not like really running it on the command line or anything. I'm just kind of passing it off to Artisan. So yeah, I mean, I guess if Artisan call had some kind of vulnerability with it and you knew, you know, you could hack this out to do something else, you know, like a double ampersand or something. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Kind of just depends on what Artisan call does underneath. But yeah, that potentially is something to think about. You know, it might be something where I could parse this portion of the command after curl and just kind of pass it in. I think call takes parameters, and maybe if you pass in those parameters, I would imagine if you pass parameters, it's probably a little bit more secure. So yeah, maybe it's worth parsing those out, you know, based on spaces or something. So we'll see. I'd have to think of how it would like work. Yeah, I don't know if you can pass a I don't know if you could pass a duplicate call to Artisan like that. But yeah, I think you're right. I think breaking these up, you know, into parameters probably makes sense. Okay, anyway, let's keep going here. Let's see if we have what we need from Docker. I don't think. Oh yeah, okay, we are started up. All right, good. Let's see here. Let's change this to whip. See if we get where we need to go. Might take a sec. I think it's all running. Yeah, okay. Yes, of course. Okay, great. I have not worked on my Mac in a little while. So let's unfortunately run npm install real quick, because I need to run Vite. Vite should be pretty fast, but this is going to be probably a little slow. All right, cool. npm run, is it still run dev, or is it like run, I think it's run like build prod or something now. It's very strange. Or prod. I always forget. They changed the name, and I have no idea why they changed the name. Like, why do that? Build. Anyway. Build. I was close without the prod. All right, hopefully this builds on this machine. Again, I haven't updated it in a while, apparently. Okay, cool. So Vite should be there. There we go. Okay, we're seeing the old page. We need to get in here and let's actually get into Docker now. We need to run composer install, get all those additional things, and go from there. Tadio, why request? I don't do dynamic property access. That's ugly. It's very, very ugly. It doesn't work universally. Yeah, the request object is given to me. Why not use its methods to get the right thing? So yeah, I've never done like request command. That's gross. You know, there are things on the request object, like, you know, what if you had a form field called JSON? Like, what do you get, right? What do you get now? You get the property. You don't get the form field. So it's not universal. So I like being explicit. Yeah. Yeah, preference, I assume. Yeah, maybe. Maybe if you prefer doing things nastily, yes, then it's a preference. But yeah, again, since it's not universal, it doesn't seem like the right thing to use. So it's kind of beyond preference for me. All right, composer update. All right, let's get the latest bit here. So yeah, this should give us that. Yeah, as far as the artisan command, again, we would have to test if you can actually call with kind of multiple commands. I wouldn't assume so, but again, it all just kind of depends on like what happens here, right? Yeah, you got command input. This has command. You know, you could really dig down in here, but like, I don't think you could go past arbitrary stuff to artisan call and really expect it to work. Now again, I'll probably go so far as to parse the command, but yeah, it looks like yeah, they kind of just like break it up, right? So is set calling class and empty parameters, then get command name new string input command. So, you know, if we keep digging down in here, yeah, see, this tokenizes it. Yeah. I mean, now you're getting deep down into Symfony. I would really trust, again, that Symfony, they're going to do the same thing I do, which is tokenize it. I really don't think it's possible to do that. So I'm gonna leave this for now, but yeah, probably before it goes to production, I'll go ahead and tokenize this side of the command myself. Again, I don't think it's necessary, but all it would really do is, you know, basically like explode based on a space, you know, the command that they passed in. So that's all I'm really gonna do, which again, as we just dug down into artisan calls, Symfony's doing that for us. So I think it's all fine. I really don't think you could do artisan call with a double ampersand, you know, doing an additional command. I don't think that would even work anyway. But again, we could test it because this would go to production. So scary stuff. I think it's worth testing out. So while we're waiting on that, let's we should be able to go to curl converter, and this should bring up a similar looking page. There we go. And you would basically just paste this in here, and we're going to hit convert. So we'll try this out as soon as we see what happens. So we could just go ahead and, you know, do our same thing. Oops. Laravel.com-d foo equals bar, and let's just kind of see what happens there, right? So once our optimized files are generated, we'll be good to go. All right, so how about validate that the user input starts with curl space? Yeah, I think there's some room for validation. And if I knew Composer was going to take this long, I probably would have just started writing it. But I wanted to see it in action, so that's why we're kind of in limbo here. But yes, absolutely. Don't you all worry. It's gonna have more validation. I do not want my database getting wiped in production. So, okay, cool. We'll come back to the validation. Let's just see if this works, right? We should just be able to hit convert, and it should post back. Okay, so shift curl does not exist. Okay, cool. So we can see, actually, I think this is kind of cool, if we can dig down deeper into here, we can actually see that it did end up kind of breaking that, if you will. So let's, did I not call it shift? What did I call it? Or did it not install? Who knows? Let's go find out. It should have been auto-loaded. Did it get auto-loaded? Laravel shift curl converter. It did. PHP artisan. Let's see if it's under the shift namespace. It is under shift. Shift curl. There it is. Why didn't it like shift curl? The command shift curl does not exist. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. PHP artisan shift curl. All right, cool. So it definitely exists. Let's get this back up top here. https laravelshift.com. Okay, there we go. Good. We can see that it is working. The web, it's like the web UI doesn't see that an additional command exists. Let's refresh. The shift curl, the command shift curl does not exist. Is it because it's a package command? That's strange. You should be able to run anything. I feel like it's like not, I feel like something about it's not loaded or something. Let's try this. Let's see what this does. At dump artisan output. Let's just run one ourselves, right? So let's just do shift curl https laravel.com. Let's get rid of the rest of this. All right, let's, oh, we're not in Blade. There we go. Let's go back. Let's just refresh this. Okay. Am I crazy? Why is my DD not being hit? Something very strange is going on here. That's strange. I got a DD just hanging out right here. What is going on? Am I crazy? Hello? Okay, something's got to be going on with Docker here. I've seen where Docker like gets behind on like file syncing or something. Yeah, that's what's going on. Something's amiss with the file sync. It's not actually pulling in my latest. That's strange. Yeah, see, something's wrong with the file sync. Yeah, when stuff starts going really weird like that, it's not Laravel. It's your code or it's your system. So yeah, it seems like something crapped out with the file sync. Let's restart Docker, as annoying as that is, and let's see if that gets us a little bit back in a better place. And while Docker's restarting, I want to see it work, and then I'm gonna parse that output. But for now, what I would do is, let's just say something like parameters is equal to, you know, this parse command. I would pass it the command, and this gets a string. And we could just say something like, you know, we would do some validation here, like make sure it starts with curl, right? And then we would go so far as to split parameters. So we could, the problem with splitting the parameters, this isn't super easy to do because here's why. Let's say you called curl with something like this, name equals, you know, Jason McCreary. I can't just parse it on the space, and this is the whole reason that it uses a command, is because a command has intelligent splitting of how the parameters kind of get passed in. Whereas if I just went in here and tried to split it on space, that's not going to work. That's why it gets tokenized by Symfony. So the fact that Symfony is tokenizing it, again, gives me a little bit of confidence, you know, kind of about the parameters are getting chopped up the way they're supposed to based on the spacing. And I would assume if we got down in there into Symfony, there are probably checks that when it sees certain characters, you know, it doesn't allow it. So we could definitely make sure that it starts with curl, absolutely. But I don't even think it would be possible, you know, we could test this ourselves, but I don't even think it would be possible to do something like artisan call and then, you know, say something like key generate, you know, and db wipe. I don't think you can pass compound commands as strings there. I don't think that's even allowed by the framework and or Symfony. So I would want to test that, but again, for those reasons, we could kind of check this here in a minute on the command line, but I don't think that's even possible. But yeah, I wouldn't be able to split the parameters simply on string. It would have to be a little bit fancier than that. Anyway, let's see again if we can just get this working, or at least to output the converted command. And if so, then I think that we'll go from there. Okay, so we did get more or less the new code now. Again, I don't know why the web was behind, but let's just kind of do the same thing here. X post https laravel.com-d foo equals bar. Let's try to convert that. It's thinking about it. So it still doesn't like shift command curl. I don't know. I don't know why it doesn't like that command. Again, I think there's something with the file system going on here. This is Docker just being Docker. I'm going to quit Docker. And we are going to pivot. We're going to pivot. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back here. Let's git add dot on that, git whip, git push origin head. Let's go back to master. And I think what we'll do, instead of trying to make Docker behave nicely, let's just take 15 minutes and we're just going to jump into those refactors, because I think this is Docker being weird with its file IO for some reason, but this is basically what it's going to look like. And I think we've identified kind of the biggest hurdle in all this, which is really just to make sure that you can't paste anything weird in here. So there will be some version of validation that does need to happen. You know, checking curl is a start, and then attempting to kind of at least loosely parse these for some things that maybe we'd be concerned about, and or trying to run artisan call with something, you know, inappropriate, just as a test to see if the framework already has this stuff built in there, because I'm sure that it does. So we'll at least kind of check, you know, it starts with curl, and then from there we'll trust that the command, you know, gets parsed by Laravel the way we would expect. So, okay, one last question on this. I'll poll the audience. Tell me what you think. So when you hit convert, do you think it should be below, or do you think I should pop it right up top here so you don't get like the page jump? And of course, you know, there's Vue and Livewire and all sorts of shit. I'm not going to build it all that way. This is just a simple form. So for those reasons, would you want to see the results kind of above the fold here, or just, you know, kind of named anchor thing where you hit convert and it's down here ready to go? So let me know what you think about that in the chat. Just a tiny little UI thing. I know it would be uncommon to put it above, but you're probably dealing with small code snippets here, I would think. So anyway, hopefully I'll get that finished once Docker wants to play nice. I know it does on my MacBook Pro, so I'm not sure if a recent upgrade of the OS broke Docker's file I/O or what, but we're not going to mess with it anymore. What we are going to do is, since we upgraded this, we are going to take the opportunity to go and fix a few things based on the new stuff that got merged into Laravel since my previous live streams. So if we go take a look at the check worker, I think it is. If we look at check worker, it might be the dynamic worker. Let's see here. Get worker names. Maybe it is create worker. Somewhere in here, yeah, here it is. Somewhere in here, we took this worker ID and we did this. Here we go. Yeah, we did this int val of str of the worker name after the dash, trim out the padding zeros, make it a string, then make it an integer value, then increment it. So now, with the recent merge of what I added to stringable, I can now say to integer. There we go. Tiny little thing, but that is now available. So there is also a to float, a to boolean, and a to date that I added. These mirror what's available on the HTTP request. So these are all available. So if you were working, let's say, with a birth date, let's say you had something like DOB, you know, 1982-01-29, that's me, I'm old. And you did, you know, after that, and you L trimmed it, and then you wanted like to date, right? This would actually get you the birth date from that string. You don't have to do toString, you don't have to pass it to Carbon, you don't have to do all that stuff. So just some date casting, just some casting methods that are now available on Stringable, because again, I think it's pretty common that you, or at least it's common for me, to manipulate a string in a way where you might want one of these simple values. So when I was on the stream building this dynamic worker, I thought of it for integer because of the inval thing, so that's what I wanted it for. That is the refactor that is now available to me there. And then one more little refactor. If we go look at our create worker test, there are two things here. One, this dispatch job this dispatch job was a little bit weird, and let me kind of backfill the reasoning here. When you queue fake, you fake the entire queue, so it's not possible for me to now say check worker dispatch dispatch. I can't do this, right? Because I've faked the queue. So this is just going to put it on the fake queue. So what I was doing was I was kind of doing the dispatching myself, but that's a little ugly. I have to create the new worker. I lose any kind of dependency injection that might be happening in the job, and then I'm kind of forcibly calling handle, which is a bit of an implementation detail. Again, if I'm working with Laravel and testing Laravel, I would like to use Laravel's methods. Now, I didn't write this, someone beat me to the punch, but they did add it to the queue based on a conversation we had in their PR. You can now say except, and I should be able to say check worker class, and this is allowed to be queued now. So I can fake the queue and now say except these particular things. So this can be, as you saw, this can be an array or a string. So in this case, a single job or a string. And now I should be able to do that. We'll push this live here in a minute and make sure all the tests pass via GitHub Actions, since Docker's being a bit of a jerk. So that's another little small refactor. The final one This is one I did add as well. If we go to the automation test, I wanted to automate that you can cancel previous jobs. And here it is, run updater cancels previous automation before running new automation. So the way this works is I basically batch a bunch of jobs anytime Laravel tags a new release. And this gives subscribers an update. Think Dependabot for GitHub, but very, very Laravel specific. Like it goes in and looks at what Laravel's changed. It's based on their patch release. It bumps your Laravel dependencies. So again, kind of like Dependabot, when Laravel tags something, you're going to get an automatic PR from Shift. And all those jobs get batched up into a batch based on the version number. So for example, 9.32. Now what was happening, or at least what happens sometimes, is Laravel tags a patch release. You know, something happens, someone reports a bug, and they tag 9.32.1. So I want to make sure that I stop the previous automation because it's a waste, and I rerun, you know, the new stuff. So I went to go test this by canceling a previous batch, and it was completely untestable. There was unimplemented methods in the batch fake. You just couldn't do it. So again, I had to resort to some hacky things where I was able to kind of allow certain jobs to be run or things like that. So what I do in this case is I don't need this to do anymore because it's been implemented. But now I can effectively call dispatch fake batch. So dispatch fake batch, and if I want to, I could even give it a name. Now I don't really care about it in this case. So again, instead of making a bus and putting it on with an empty amount of jobs like I was doing, and then kind of dispatching that myself, I can dispatch a fake one, which effectively does the same thing. It's just an empty batch, but I could, you know, give it a name or some other attributes that I might need to do so my code can pick that up correctly. So again, just another tiny refactor. So if you were watching the previous streams, you know, you might have seen me write this and maybe you were like, why, or is he writing, you know, handle? Why is he calling handle directly? It's because these kind of little nuanced edge cases in the testing layer, we're missing. So they've since been added. So let's do a git add -p. We're going to add all this stuff. So we got this little refactor here for this to integer instead of making it a string and then calling PHP's int value and then incrementing it. Same thing here. Instead of calling our own little dispatch job method, we're going to call dispatch directly, and we've made it an exception for the QFake, so it should allow it to actually be dispatched. And then finally, instead of making just some kind of, you know, stupid little job batch here with no real jobs in it, just some fake jobs in it, we can call this dispatch fake batch on the bus. Okay. Refactors. And I'm just going to go ahead and push this up because it should end up running the test suite. Again, I would imagine all that passes. If so, I'll go back and kind of amend that to get rid of this this dispatch handle dispatch job kind of thing anyway. And I think that would probably allow me to get rid of it would probably allow me to get rid of this as well too. I don't know why I was try catching it. Oh, because it actually throws, this actually throws an error, which is maybe why I was calling handle directly. Yeah, you know what? This actually might end up failing because of that change. We'll have to see. That probably ends up calling failed, and I don't get the message. I think that's why I was doing that here. But nonetheless, there are areas in this class where I don't need to dispatch the job that way, for example, here. So I may want to call it forcibly here because I'm actually catching a low-level exception. But nonetheless, this is still a nice little addition that you can kind of whitelist, if you will, or you can say which classes should be allowed to actually be dispatched and put on the queue. So I think that's kind of nice. So I'll check the test and clean those up, but I think we'll kind of leave it at that for today. Okay, let's see what people are saying. Excited to see you get this live, having never got around to it myself. Oh, Ryan. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, oh, one of the things you were working on, huh? One of many. Cool. Below. I don't know why people are saying below the fold, more intuitive, I say. Below. Was my screen cut off or something? I don't know. Anyway, ltrim 0 seems redundant. No, it's not. I want to take off the 0. I guess in the case of an integer cast, you don't have to worry about the 0 being there. So yeah, I could see that not being necessary. Yeah. Redundant, I don't know, but not necessary, yes. Just for future, you can do app call new job class handle to preserve dependency injections. Oh, nice. Okay, cool. So yeah, it looks like you can use, for some reason, you're able to call through the app facade, or the app helper in this case, which calls the facade, the call method, and give it a tuple notation of the job class. That's crazy. Yeah, if you're actually passing something into handle, though, well, like you said, it gets rid of the dependency, or it handles the dependency injection. So yeah, I could call it that way, which would be a little cleaner if you ever come across this use case again. So, all right, cool. Well, with that, I'm going to shut this down. I'm going to figure out why the heck the file I/O doesn't work, and you'll probably see tomorrow I'll announce this little page on Twitter. So, but the command itself, as we saw from the command line, is available as a package. So if you got a lot of curl commands that you use, or you're working with an API, where you're pulling these out from the doc and rewriting them as HTTP calls, definitely go check this out. The CLI, as we saw, is working. I will say there might be some arbitrary options, some really advanced options inside of curl that aren't supported, but they're super easy to add. If you watch the previous stream, you're really just adding them to the command description for a Laravel command. So if you're familiar with that, you can make a PR for this and help improve it. So otherwise, again, yeah, hopefully this will be live tomorrow. So thanks everybody for bearing through the Docker issues, and I'll see you all next week. Blueprint, all of October. Blueprint. I'm catching up on all of the issues, new features. So if you've used Shift's Blueprint package to generate code, stay tuned for those. So, see you.